You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, hello everyone. Here's our top stories for today. A Jehovah's Witness stabbed her baby because she saw the devil inside of him. Jehovah's Witness unusual marriages. We'll be talking about that today. In-person conventions. Well, they're back in 2023. And the average age of the governing body, 72 years old. And a Ring doorbell goes horribly wrong for Jehovah's Witness up in Seattle, Washington. Those stories and more coming up next. Stay with us. Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to Six Screen Sunday. Well, we do it every other Sunday. We do about a 45-minute news brief here, talking about all the stories, the top stories that are going on in the Watchtower. Well, today is July 17th, 2022, and we are glad you're with us. A beautiful Sunday up here in Boston. And I hope it's nice where you are. Well, anyways, my name's Rick Ferrin, and I'm glad you could join us today. If you're coming in on Facebook or YouTube, thank you for coming in. We also have people on our Six Screens video suite and also on our telephone line. Yeah, we do the program here at JW World News. We've been doing it for, 16 years, going on 17 years. We never missed a Saturday night, and we only missed one Sunday. And we are here because you are here, and we'll get right to it. I just want to tell you that this week, and it was amazing. I ran into an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and he shared something with me that really rocked my boat, so to speak. And anyways, what he told me is his 72-year-old mother, is falling in love. She's a Jehovah's Witness, by the way, a staunch, loyal Jehovah's Witness. And so she's falling in love with a 22-year-old Jehovah's Witness man in her congregation. Now, I found that very, very unusual. We talked about it last night, but I wanted to bring it up again today because the more I even think about it, that is really going over the top. You know, you run the numbers, we get 50-year spread. 50 years. I mean, this woman could practically, she could be could be a grandmother, could be a great-grandmother almost. So what would a 22-year-old man see in wanting to marry a 72-year-old woman? Well, I've heard of unusual marriages in the Watchtower before. This is not the first one, friends. And I'm sure you guys listening in, you also have heard of this. Absurd, isn't it? And we had people calling in last night from pretty much all over the country and the world, really, and voicing their opinions on this. And, we got a number of stories last night where they heard similar stories of younger witnesses marrying older witnesses. And so it's not totally unusual, but this 50-year spread, I would say, is a little bit over the top, wouldn't you? And I can remember even when I was pretty active in the witness world, there was a 54-year-old woman, and she had a return visit. The man was 92, and so she studied the Bible with him, as they would say, and they got, together, and they got married. So she was 54, he was 92. I've heard of, stories like this. I also heard of, there was another man in my hall, a young man. He was only about 21, 22, handsome, dark hair, handsome man. And he was a witness, and he met this woman out in service and started having a return visit with her. and the woman's husband left earlier, before this young man started showing up. The woman actually had 2 children already, and I believe there was another one on the way. So he was only 20, say 22, and this woman was at least 42, maybe even a little older, and they tied the knot. So, when you hear stories like this, you say, what? So it's just totally unbelievable to hear this going on in the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, you know what I do? I search the internet. I search the internet all week long. I try to come up with the top stories that are going on behind the curtains in the Watchtower. And I've got news for you. Every single week for 16 years now, I come across critical stories. And I have to tell you, the Watchtower is getting more and more tarnished every day. More and more critical news, more and more negative, cynical news is coming up concerning the Jehovah's Witnesses. So let's move on here. Let's see what else we got. I wanted to just speak a little bit about this. We've got a governing body. I say we, I mean, I'm out of the Watchtower, but the Watchtower organization, Jehovah's Witnesses, they have 8 members on the governing body. And, when I was a witness, an active witness, Satan kicked me out of his organization back in 2005. I was just fellowship for apostasy. But when I was an active Jehovah's Witness, I didn't really know a lot of the governing body. Today, a lot of the witnesses, they seem to know the governing body more than witnesses back 10, 12 years ago. And that's because of JW streaming. The governing body does these updates on jw.org every month, and they have a video of them, and you can see them up front and close. And I'll tell you what, it's really not a pretty picture. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are starting to go, that's our governing body. These are the anointed ones that are leading this organization. Well, I'll tell you this, there's actually a good many Jehovah's Witnesses leaving the organization right now because of the governing body. When they couldn't see them before, it was more of a mystique, right? You kind of knew some of the governing body, but, they weren't right, boom, popping up on your TV channel, on your TV set every week and every day for some people. So, people are getting tired of looking at these old buffoons, and they are getting old. The average age of the governing body is 72 years old. Now that's I'm 70. I'm going to be 74 this month, so I mean I'm not complaining, but these guys, they're getting up there, and you can see a picture of them right now on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can see they're all somewhat older. Now listen, they have, you guys know it. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses, they have a lot of handsome men in that organization, young men that could come in and be spokespeople, could give talks on jw.org. Well, why don't they use some of them? Why bring these old fogies out and put them in front of everybody? I'm not sure why they do it, because it's not doing them any good. A lot of people, like I say, are just upset with this whole thing. People are leaving because of them. So I have to wonder, if the average age is 72 years old, what I'm wondering about here is what's going to happen in the next 5 years. They'll be pushing 5 years older. Now, what happens is people get older. They begin to kind of get dementia. They can't remember things as much. I mean, we're seeing that basically going on right now in our presidency, right? We see President Biden. We just came back from Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, and boy, I'll tell you, is tripping over a lot of words. And the governing body, they're getting old like Biden. And, I see them messing up as well. So I'm wondering, I'm just thinking out loud, is there some kind of an internal scramble? Maybe a fight that is going on for control? Well, that's what happens in most corporations and most big organizations. As the people who are running the organization get older, there now becomes an internal scramble or a fight for control. Could that be happening right now in the Jehovah's Witness organization. I believe it could be. The governing body is somewhat like the Supreme Court. Once they're appointed, essentially they're appointed for a lifetime. And when one dies, well, they have been replaced by a younger version. I mean, still old, but a younger person. So I'm just going to give you some ages here and give you the names of the governing body members. Let me put the picture back up here again. You have Mark Sanderson. He's 57 years old. He's the youngest one. And we have Mark Sanderson. And then we got to go to Kenneth Cook. He's 62. Jeffrey Jackson, 67. He was the one of the Australian Royal Commission. Remember Jeffrey? Well, he's in the back. If you're looking at the picture on Facebook and YouTube, he's the one in the back row with the glasses on. That's lying Jeffrey Jackson. And well, he's 67. He looks older to me. He looks older than 67. Anthony Morris. Oh my goodness, that's Anthony Morris in the back. Well, I guess he has glasses on too. Anthony Morris, he's got that orange tie on in the picture. Well, he's the one that was caught up in the New York liquor store buying $1,000 worth of Macallan Scotch. Yeah, that's him in the back. That's Anthony Morris III, and he is 72. Then we have Mark Stephen Lett. Oh my goodness, that's Stephen Lett there. Well, he's the man in the back row with that striped candy cane looking tie on. He's the one that makes the funny faces, right? Well, that's Stephen Lett. Then you got David Splane. Well, he's right there in the front row. He's 78 years old. He would be the second one in from the right. And next to him occurs, David Splane, he's 78. And then you got Samuel Frederick Hurd. Well, he's the fellow there he's the black brother right there in the middle with the glasses. He's the oldest. Samuel Hurd is the oldest. He's 87. And then, of course, we got Garrett Loesch. He's the one to the far left on the bottom. And he's 87 years. I'm sorry, he's 81. Average age, 72. So the clock is ticking. You know, but these guys all look like the picture of health, right? Well, not really. Not really. They're not taking good care of their bodies. I can tell you that. I mean, don't they realize that their bodies are a precious gift from Jehovah? But they're not taking care of it. It looks like they're eating a lot of junk food. It looks like they're kind of lacking exercise. And of course, that can shorten their lifespan as well. So there you have it, the aging governing body. So I wanted to bring that to your attention today. The governing body, you know, they try so hard to come across as warm and friendly. But in actuality, folks, they're relentlessly condescending. Yeah, they speak down to people. Have you noticed that? You know, in JW streaming, they actually do. They speak down to people. And it does get a little bit, awkward to listen to them. And the most egregious example of this, of a governing body member that speaks down to people, is that Muppet Stephen Lett. Well, he's the one like the cartoon person who makes those funny facial expressions, and he has an inflection that makes, when he reads, let me put it this way to you. He has an inflection, not an inflection, but he has an inflection that makes it sound like when he's talking to you, it's like he's reading a storybook to a kindergarten class. So you know the guy I'm talking about, that's Stephen Lett. And we're going to get to Stephen Lett here in a little bit and tell you about a very odd thing he said in the last 3 weeks that really is rocking the witness world. So what I find too is the governing body has very little respect for their audience. And I don't know if you guys notice it, but I listen to it. I go through jw.org. They're streaming. I'm listening to talks in there. And the more I listen to the governing body, I find that they have very little respect for their audience. and it bleeds through their speech, their talks in various forms. And it's like they are like popes. They want you to almost worship them. That's the very way that I look at it. And that's what it seems to be. It's like, they walk around pious, and they walk around with their heads in the air, so to speak. They have beautiful suits, pinky rings, Rolex watches. They drive nice cars. They live in nice houses. So, most people now are not being fooled by these people. They're really, really not. The content of their talks too lack any luster at all. The governing body has no real world experience. They are living in a bubble. That's what they are living in, is in a bubble. So they're actually out of touch with reality. Does someone want to come in and say something? Go ahead. All right.
Yeah, hi, Rick.
Yes, Constance.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, dear. I'm calling you on my other phone, so you might not recognize the number. Rick, this time I jotted down the names and their ages. What was the age of Stephen Lett? That I didn't catch that.
All right, let me get it for you in just a second. I can go right back and get it. Stephen Lett, I believe he is, Stephen Lett, 73.
73. Okay, Rick, thank you. Yeah. But the other thing I was going to say is, yeah, they are very condescending and demeaning to, the group of Jehovah's Witnesses. There's no doubt about it. I think the witnesses are just so used to it, they think it's, considered normal behavior. But, when you step away from this organization, you start listening to these bozos. They're very demeaning, and they treat, they speak down to the congregations like they're a bunch of idiots. So, yeah, it's very, very sad, Rick. So thank you for this.
Yeah, I wanted to just bring that up concerning them, because I'm going to draw a contrast. I can remember really good speakers. You go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the early 90s, the Watchtower had really good speakers. I can remember my district overseer, circuit overseer. I can remember Brother Noor when he would give a talk. Even Rutherford. I mean, I don't go back that far, but I've listened to tapes, and Rutherford, believe it or not, was even a good speaker. But these men are not following in their shoes at all. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a contrast here. I'm going to play a little clip from Brother Noor. Well, that was back in 1958 at the Polo Grounds, and it was the Divine Will Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses. It was at Yankee Stadium, New York City, Yankee Stadium in the Polo Grounds. My mother happened to go there. I was only 10 years old at the time, so I stayed home. My mother got a babysitter, and so I stayed home, but she went. She was gone for a good part of 10 days, but she heard Brother Noor's talk, and I'm going to play a clip of that talk. Now, I want you to see or at least hear the enthusiasm, the roar of the crowd. That this man was a good speaker, and so wasn't Franz. But listen to Noor back in 1958, and you tell me what you think. Let's get it up right now. Let me put it up so you can hear it. So let's play it.
It's beginning in that year, stamped 1914 as the year when the times of the Gentiles ended, and the denial of this fact by all of Christendom's clergy cannot disprove it. World events from 1914 onward prove not only that Jesus Christ was a true prophet, but that in 1914 he came into the kingdom power to which he had a right, and that his presence in the heavenly kingdom began then. God's kingdom by his anointed king, Messiah, had been born. The Gentile nations, including Christendom, no longer held the world domination on earth. God's kingdom ruled. It dominated from that time forward.
Well, you
After Jesus
can see what I'm
foretold the
talking about.
beginning of world sorrows.
Well, I think you can hear him, and that's a good speaker. And boy, the crowd was roaring. And, the governing body today, the modern governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, they really need to listen to Nathan Noor's public talks, that particular one in 1958, as well as others. They have them there in the archives. They should get a listen to some of the talks of Franz and Noor and even Rutherford, and, put a little more emphasis, a little more umph into their talks. Now, on the other hand, what I want to do for you, I want to play. Let me share another one. I'm gonna play a little bit of Samuel Hurd. I did now. He's still a governing body member today, as you know. So we're gonna play a little bit of Samuel Hurd here, and see what you think. Let me just get it up here. Okay. Okay. Let's see. We got it here. Okay. Well, I want you to hear Hurd. Let me just see if I can find it. Here it is here. So this is Samuel Hurd. This is a governing body member today. Let's listen to him and see if he speaks like Noor. Let's listen in.
But then we became Christians. We learned the way of peace, and we let go of such warfare. Figuratively speaking, we pulled the pin on our last hand grenade and tossed it into the air, killing no one or nothing. Just a loud kaboom. But in heaven, we will serve along with Christ and his holy angels, waging the final war against God's enemies. So if you've ever thought that you might feel left in the lurch after the anointed are taken to heaven, think of this. On earth, none of us Christians are allowed to fight. Many of us anointed ones are too old to fight, even if we were allowed to.
Well, there you go. I wanted to just play that for you, so you can kind of get I know we were listening, so you can kind of get a little feel for Nathan Noor speaking and Hurd speaking. Did you catch the difference? I mean, Noor spoke with power. I mean, I'm not trying to give the witnesses credit here. I'm not doing that. But what I'm trying to show you is that maybe that's why so many are leaving right now. Maybe that's why so many people are leaving the organization, because of that very fact. They're not really good speakers. And these are the people that are supposedly running the organization. The governing body has become nothing but religious charlatans. They're following the same playbook as other hypocritical televangelists like Michael Murdoch, Joel Osteen, Benny Hinn. They're following the same playbook. They have nefarious plans and purposes up their sleeves. They want to convert as many people as they can in order to obtain as much money so they can steal it from the people. That's what the Watchtower is doing. That's what these governing body people are doing. And not only that, when they speak to their audience and they give their audience information from Jehovah God, it's actually harmful for the audience to hear what they have to say. And you say, well, how is it, Rick? I mean, how would you say the governing body is harmful with their message? Well, we know it's harmful. And just to give you an idea, when they speak, and I listen to a lot of this JW streaming doing my news here, but when the governing body speaks, they always talk down to women. They talk down to children. They attack your pets. They don't even like pets that you have. They don't like anything but themselves. They're always telling you not to be materialistic. And here they have pinky rings and Rolex watches and $500 suits. So, they're always talking down. You can never meet their approval. So, this is wearing on the Jehovah's Witness, and that's why many, many of them are leaving. So I'll tell you what, if I was still a witness today, I think I would leave primarily because of them, seriously. Well, we also get news this week that the Watchtower is going to resume in-person conventions in 2023. We know they're doing their conventions this summer, Pursue Peace. That's this summer's convention, but that's being done online. People can watch it on their television screen right off of JW Broadcasting, jw.org. So they'll be going back in person. And the Watchtower, I read it right off of their site in the last few days. It says, "We are pleased that the governing body has decided that, Jehovah willing, we will resume in-person regional conventions in 2023. Branches will now begin scheduling dates and selecting venues. We pray for Jehovah's rich blessing to be with all those involved in the planning." Well, probably the only ones that are happy that they're going back and meeting in person is the Shasta Beverage Company. I mean, remember that? Hey, I'll tell you what, the Shasta Beverage Company, they made a lot of money on these Jehovah's Witness conventions. Well, they'll probably be glad to see the witnesses going back to meeting once again. Yeah, so I'm glad you're with me. A Sunday afternoon, a lazy Sunday afternoon, a lot of people out at the beach, a lot of people doing cookouts. I mean, that's what people do in the summer. So we hope that you guys can enjoy the summer too. Watchtower publication scaring children. Well, that's another story that we're going to be talking about today. And it shows a picture. I have the book here. And, well, I mean, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, well, I'll hold it up so you can see it. It's in an older publication. I have a reproduction of the older publication. And the name of the book is it's called The Way to Paradise. And that's a Jehovah's Witness publication, 1927, I believe it was, when it first got published. But there's a picture in here. I'm going to bring it very close to the camera so you guys can see it. So there is the picture. I hope you can see it. And what it's showing a god, a false god made of iron, and a bunch of the people are bringing their baby up to it, and the taking and throwing the baby is a furnace behind this false god, and they throw the baby into the fire and sacrifice the baby. Now, I mean, would you want your children seeing a picture like that? Really, but this is throughout Watchtower publications that you see children being exposed to imagery that is not good for their mental health. Who wants to see a little baby being thrown into a furnace? Come on, let's get real, Watchtower. But I mean, I can remember when I was young too. When I was just a young boy studying the Paradise book, that orange book, you guys know what book I'm talking about. And you know, that book had a lot of images in there that would scare the little children, including myself. And there was one image I can still think of this day when I closed my eyes, and it actually showed an earthquake, and the earth was opening up, and there was a crook, a burglar, whoever. He was running with a bag of jewels of money, and he was falling into the hole, and little children were falling in, their bicycles with them, and hailstones were coming down from heaven, and mothers and fathers are running around and screaming. Yeah, that's a nice picture for kids. I can still see that image, very, very sharp, very noticeable in the depths of my mind. It's there. And that's what goes on. These pictures, that's exactly what has happened through the years. And I can tell you the effect. It doesn't have a good effect. You think it has a good effect on Jehovah's Witness children and parents? I mean, it demeans the children. That's probably why there's so much spanking and so many little children getting disciplined and brought into the back room and whacked and given a spanking, and you can hear them yelling and screaming. So, because the Watchtower is always saying, train up a boy and, make sure that you use discipline. And by suggesting things like that to the Jehovah's Witness parents, what do you think? That's why you could hear a lot of children getting beat at the Kingdom Halls and at these conventions. So I wanted to bring that up. I wanted to bring that up because it's absolutely true. Well, I'm glad you're with me, as I say, and we got another program coming up after this. We got Jay Hess, Making Disciples with Jay Hess. He's coming up after this program in about, I'd say probably about 15 minutes. And he's got a program coming on that's really great. Jay used to be associated with the writing department of the Watchtower. And Jay has a lot of things he's going to discuss today. He's got Bible questions he'll be answering. So if you're a witness wiggling your way out and you want some good theological teaching and some good Bible understanding, Jay will be on and help you with that in about 15 minutes. He'll be right here on YouTube and Facebook as well. So here we got all these stories, all these little images in the Watchtower publications that certainly has created a lot of difficulty for young children. In fact, even people have calling in here to the 6 screens, and they have suggested to me that they have nightmares. They told me they had nightmares and how the nightmares would keep them awake all night. They'd wake up and not get back to sleep, and all they could see is some of this Watchtower imagery. So friends, let's face it, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, but the Watchtower continues to do it even till this day. But of course, now they're going to more video. They're getting away from really publishing books to producing video. But even, I'll tell you one thing I got thinking about the Watchtower producing videos rather than publications is those videos are all digital. So if they say something in those videos that 5 or 10 years from now is outdated and they said the wrong thing, they can get in with their editing equipment and they can edit out what was in there. In fact, I'll tell you what, the Watchtower is already doing that. Yeah, in fact, we have been catching them already doing it with some of the governing body talks, some of the things the governing body has been saying. And you can't, in fact, remove some of it, but they also have edited some of it. So it's amazing what they'll do. So see, these old publications, they're catching up on the witnesses, aren't they? Yeah, they are. People can go back. I've got a lot of them myself. And you can go back and you can indict them on what you find in these older publications. But by them going to video now, they can just edit anything they say that proved to be incorrect. Just take it out. No one ever know it's there. Yeah, that's how fraudulent the Watchtower is. And then the other good thing I see happening, and I always liked it because I got the protest fever, and I've always liked protesting, and I've been doing it now for many, many years, a good 15, 16 years. And what I like about it is I'm now starting to see a lot more people protesting. Just this week alone, I see people protesting in Panama, South America. I see them in Mexico and also in Chile. So they are protesting in front of the branch offices in these countries. So more and more people are saying, we've had enough of the Watchtower. We're going to get out there and we're going to protest. We're going to let the Watchtower know that we no longer believe in their teachings. So isn't that a good thing? Protesting, when I first started, I was one of the first. I'm not patting myself on the back, but there wasn't many people protesting 15 years ago. There was a few. Bill Bowden, you know him from Silent Lambs, and some of the people from the Witnesses Now for Jesus, they went out protesting. And, I started doing it back in 2000, right around 2004, 2005. And I'm going to tell you something. I used to really love it. I still do it. And I used to really love protesting because I felt like I thought that something was going to really happen. And I was hoping to be able to get more people to do it. But you know what? They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it. And a lot of the witnesses would say, a lot of the ex-witnesses, they'd write me and say, Rick, don't go protest. That's just feeding into their persecution complex. Why even bother? It's just making them stronger. Well, I never saw it that way. I saw that when you were standing up in front of a Kingdom Hall or a convention site or at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witness, you were making a statement, and people would drive by and they'd give you the thumbs up, and there'd be younger ones in the car that would drive by with their parents and they'd give you the thumbs up. So, I never looked at it as a waste of time. The neighbors would stop by and ask you, what's going on? Why are you saying these guys are a cult? And you had an opportunity to tell them. And there's people that have worked their way out of the witness world because of protest. I'm telling you right up front. I've seen a number of this on posts online that people got out because of the protesters and the signs that the witnesses saw and got them out of the organization. So hats off to those in Chile, those in Mexico, and those all the way down in Panama, South America. Very good for you guys. Keep standing tall and don't ever let your visions die, because my vision is to see this organization go out of business. I don't want it reformed. I don't want them to become some other aberrant, strange religious group that came out of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I want these guys gone. I don't have a soft spot from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet for an organization that causes so much turmoil, so many problems in people's lives. Yes. So anyways, I don't know if you heard this story, but this comes out of Seattle, Washington. And this goes back a couple of years ago, but I wanted to bring it up here. I wanted to bring it up because I find it very, very fascinating to me. You know, these Ring doorbells where you can actually set, it's like a camera. So people knocking on the door, you can hear the bell ring. Plus you can also see them. There's a camera set up and you can see them on a monitor. So anyways, up in 2019, this goes back a few years, but I wanted to bring this up today because there's something in the context of this story that wants me to kind of address. I'm getting a feeling that you guys will agree with what I'm going to say. But anyways, what happened? I won't play the video. I'll just tell you for the sake of time here. But what happened is a Jehovah's Witness man is a woman with him. It was a sister, and they knocked on a door, or actually rang the doorbell, I should say, and they were asking for a young girl. They were calling her by name, and they could see the mother. She could see of the young girl. She was only 15 years old. The mother could see these two people at the door, and they wouldn't identify who they were. So the mother said to Ring, "Who are you?" And they wouldn't identify themselves. So then she, opened the door and went out. "Why don't you identify yourself? You're asking for my daughter by name, but you're not even telling me who you are." So they got in the car and left and really got the woman upset. But she knew they were witnesses. So she went to the Kingdom Hall and she was all bent out of shape, really. I mean, how would you like it? How would you like to have some strange people knocking on your door and a strange man asking for your 15-year-old daughter and calling her by name? I mean, would that make you upset? That would make me upset as a father, never mind a mother. But that's what happened up in Washington State, up in Seattle. And, they didn't identify who they were. So the woman went to the Kingdom Hall, the congregation that this guy was from. She figured it must be the local one, which it was. And she talked to one of the elders there. And he said that, it's actually, he was an official. He was a higher official. I don't know how she got a hold of him, but he was serving in a pretty high capacity in that area. And he told the woman that, Jehovah's Witnesses should be identifying themselves when they go door to door. Well, hold on. When you were Jehovah's Witness in the service meetings, did they want you to come out and say, "Good morning, my name is Rick Farron, and I am one of Jehovah's Witnesses"? Did they want you to introduce yourself that way? Not at all. The way they wanted you to introduce yourself was, "Good morning, sir. My name is Rick Farron, and we're in your neighborhood today doing a volunteer ministry work." That's what they wanted you to say. They didn't want you to say that we're Jehovah's Witnesses right up front. I mean, you're going to get the boot, right? So you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't say I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So, they would hide their identities because they knew darn well that no one would listen to them. They wouldn't get to first base with their little sermon. So what I wanted to say, and you guys know it, that's a bald-faced lie that this man told this woman. Well, they're really instructed to say who they are. And no, they're not. They're not instructed that way at all. As a matter of fact, I remember meetings I had in my congregation where they more or less kind of subdued saying that. Don't say you're a Jehovah's Witness, because they know that doesn't work. Jehovah's Witnesses have such a tarnished image I mean, who's going to listen to them? It's really like, get out of here. I don't even want to talk to you. Even the last time I went out in service was in 2005. People weren't even coming to the doors. They weren't even coming and answering the door. They knew you were a Jehovah's Witness. And then nobody goes door to door anymore. Not even the witnesses. And I don't know if they'll ever start that up again. They're going business to business. They're preaching with their carts. But I don't know if they're ever going to go back door to door, because people they got these Ring doorbells. They can see, they can see who's knocking on their door, ringing their bell. So, the bases are covered. People don't want to talk to Jehovah's Witnesses. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. So I'm not sure they'll ever go back at all. Well, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. But we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday. But this is the story I really wanted to feature with you guys before we move on to the next program. And this story really is boiling the blood of a lot of people. The story comes out of Ecuador. And a young Jehovah's Witness mother stabbed her baby because the devil was inside of him. Well, where would she ever get an idea like that? She stabbed the little infant because she saw the devil. She saw where would she ever get an idea like that? She stabbed the little infant because she saw the devil. She saw where would she ever get an idea like that? Hold on. She stabbed the little infant because she. All right. That's just someone coming in. I just wanted to block them because it was echoing. So she stabbed the little baby, and she evidently saw that there was a demon in the baby. Now, I'm not going to put too many legs on this story because who knows for sure. Now, the little baby, he was born in May. And this stabbing or his death occurred on June, I believe it was June 30th, just a couple of weeks ago. So the little baby died. Now, I'm wondering, there was a talk given by Stephen Lett. And you folks remember that talk? It had to do with Stephen Lett gave a talk. Stephen Lett, of course, governing body member, Jehovah's Witnesses. He gave a talk. And in the context of that talk, he said that babies are enemies of God. So I'm wondering, and I'm just, I'm putting some legs on it, but I can't say for sure, could this woman already suffering perhaps from, having the baby and being depressed after that? Is it possible that what Stephen Lett said could have caused her to kill the baby? I want you to hear what Stephen Lett had to say. Let me get that up. I got that right here. So let me put that on here right now. And I want you to hear what Stephen Lett had to say. And it was really despicable what Stephen had to say. And I don't know why a governing body would even make a statement like that. No Christian would ever call babies enemies of God. Babies are lovable little creatures. But let's see what he had to say here. Let me see if I can't get him up. Just give us a second, and we'll get Stephen Lett up here. Here he is right here. He says that babies are enemies of God. So why don't we try to share that? I'm going to get it on full screen here, and I'm going to play it. So let's listen in. Let's hear what Stephen has to say.
Hear people say of a little baby, look at that little angel. But more accurate would be to say, look at that little enemy of God.
Look at that little enemy of God. That's what Stephen Lett said. Look at that little enemy of God. I mean, could that be enough? When you start calling babies enemies of God, goodness only knows what could happen. Sad to say, the woman was 25 years old. She's now in a detention center. They're evaluating her, but she never had mental issues. She never had any problems with depression. And all of a sudden she flips out after she has the baby. and she stabbed the little baby and killed the baby. So what's of interest here and really got me thinking, and I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not accusing Stephen Lett of causing this woman to stab her baby, but it is kind of ironic. It is somewhat coincidental that she stabbed the baby on June 30th, and this talk was given by Lett somewhere about a week or so earlier. So, this whole situation, as I was going over it and reviewing the news for this week's JW World News, that popped out. And, it's something that I had to think about because it's such a destructive story. It's such a discouraging story to hear that. So the little boy, he was born on May 14th. So June 4th, he's not even 2 months old, and the mother stabbed him. But in the newspaper that I'm reading this from, it does say that the mother had membership with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and she was married as well to a Jehovah's Witness man. They got married in the congregation that they were attending. But, even the police, they had no idea. The woman never suffered from emotional problems or any of that. But nonetheless, she did this to her baby. So I don't know. I don't know if we can really pin Stephen Lett's talk to all of this. But when you start saying a little baby is an enemy of God, so who else is an enemy of God? Well, that'd be Satan, the devil. And so the devil, she could have said, well, when Stephen said it's an enemy of God, she says, well, the devil's inside my baby. Who knows? We're going to hear more about this, I'm sure, as the news progresses along. But we can open up the lines if anyone wants to say hello to us before we go to the next program. Now's the time to do it. Did anything here today catch your fancy? If you like to say hello, all you have to do is hit *6 and come on and say, hey, I'm on with you, Rick. Go ahead. We have some difficulties going on with our phone line today, friends. I'm not sure what's happening. But I want to let people know that we really appreciate them coming in. I can see them here on our telephone line, but for some reason they're having a hard time unmuting themselves today. I've been having some trouble with the controls. But I want to thank everyone for coming into Jay. Yes, Constance.
Hi, honey. I wasn't sure if you could hear me or not. I enjoyed all the topics. Just one thing I wanted to say, going back on a few of the stories, rewinding a little bit, that topic you were talking about with regards to the governing body members and their tone of how they speak to the witnesses. And, I made the comment about them being very demeaning. Thank goodness I was out of the organization when I heard this one. Rick, Samuel Hurd, the governing body member, he's the one that brought up that topic about women's brains being, like 10% of man's. They're so inferior to men. And, do you remember that? Rick?
Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. That insulted a lot of women.
A lot of women, Rick. Yeah. So, the organization is just very, very demeaning. That's all I wanted to say was that comment about Samuel Hurd. I mean, Rick, if any woman had any kind of self-respect and self-esteem, they would have just gotten up and walked out and, laughed at that mockery, Rick, I'm telling you.
Oh, it's like I say, it's demeaning. They talk down to people. You don't do that as a public speaker. You don't want to talk down to people. You want your audience to connect with you. But I don't know. This organization is really in free fall. Thank you very much, Constance, for calling in.
Thank you, Rick.
All righty. Well, there you go. So now you know the news. Now you're right up to date on what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And remember, the last one leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We've got Jay Hess. He's coming up next. I'm going to send you a link, Jay. I do believe I see you listening in on the video suite. So I will be sending you a link, and we'll start your program. So we're going to end this one here, but come back with us. We'll be back in about 5 minutes with Making Disciples with Jay Hess. Thank you all for coming in to Six Screen Sunday.